Yes, it's Mr. Pelargonium. I'm finally back for the Pelargonium and Geranium Society in a bigger domain. Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a very long time, I know. It's been 3 months actually since I last did a video for the Pelargonium and Geranium Society. But we're back here now. It's been a long and excruciating period for me. We obviously moved in the middle part of September to a new place. We're in the county of Wiltshire, probably around about 50 miles southwest of where we were before. It's a completely different aspect, this glass house. The new glass house was finished probably getting on for around about a month ago. Now, the full story of the installation of this glass house can be found up at my own channel, which I'll just link to up here. There's plenty there to see the sort of build of it. It was quite a complicated build, very large glass house. I mean, this glass house is basically 12.5 foot wide by 25 foot long. So in meters, getting on for 4 meters wide by 7.65 meters, I think 25 feet equates to. So it's quite a big boy. And in the end, we basically had to get the base done by builders and the glass house, the main install of it, done by professional glass house builders. Because it ended up being really quite complicated. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that here because I like to talk purely about pelargoniums here, but if you want to see all the story about the glasshouse build, go up to my own channel, which explains basically everything. So I can outline a few sort of obvious things that you sort of really need to know here. Now, this glasshouse is in a much more open position than my last one. Everybody knows, I think, who follows the channel will know that my last glass house was fairly enclosed. Half of it was between two quite large garages, our own and the one next door. And it was pretty enclosed, and during the winter it actually got very, very almost dark. Well, what a difference this is. We are on an elevated position here. We're surrounded by bungalows, or for those that are overseas, maybe you don't use the term bungalow. It's basically single-story houses. But our garden is actually raised up. Our bungalow is sort of lower down to where the elevation of this glass house is. That did actually cause 1 or 2 problems with the building in the base, but that's a whole nother story. Have a look on my own channel for the story behind that. So we are raised up here. It's very open, and even now on the shortest days of the year, I'm filming this on Monday the 9th of December. I'm still going to get, if we had a sunny day, it's cloudy today, 5 hours of sunshine directly on the glass house. It's a southerly aspect, more or less, southeast that way, southwest that way, northeast that way, north that way. So the sun at this time of year is coming up right over there, obviously in the southeast, and it goes right sort of over. I mean, the days are short, so it's only just sort of scooping up and going over that way at this time. But yeah, totally different aspect, and sort of in the sort of 11 to 1:30 time, even now, the glass house, even fully ventilated, actually gets relatively warm. It's really totally different aspect to my last glass house, which was very shaded during the winter. So that is going to make a monumental difference to the growing conditions in this glass house. Very, very different. So there's going to be, I'm almost going to have to completely retrain myself in regard to, say, when I cut my pelargoniums for show in the, well, what would have normally have been the late winter. And in fact, I actually used to stop some of my Regals for shows, which is the final cutback in order to let them flower for a show season in June. I was having to do that, well, starting from now, but I almost certainly think that I will be back to a normal stopping regime, which is around 18 weeks for double flowering varieties and Regals. I know they're single, but slightly different for those. But the problem I've got, of course, is that all my plants were open to the elements all during the winter, all during the autumn. They were open to moths, they were open to all the bugs flying around and what have you. So I know a good number of my plants have got caterpillars. I've been getting the caterpillars off ever since all the plants came into the glass house, which incidentally, they came in just before the first real cold snap of the sort of autumn, which thankfully didn't occur until about the middle of November. And that's another story as well. Very, very lucky, chronically lucky, because we had no real cold weather until the middle of November. So lucky with that aspect, because if we had had a lot of really clear cold weather, it could have been really difficult. All of the younger plants I did have indoors. We thankfully got a southwest facing quite large porch. So I had a lot of plants in there, packed in, you know, far too tight, but just had to live with it. And we sort of got a southeast facing sort of utility area there where I also had some plants. So all of the smaller plants were more or less indoors or sheltered. So they would have been all right, but all the larger plants were outside. I'll probably just chuck in a couple of videos that I've sort of got there where you can see the plants for those that didn't go on my own channel. But I was so very, very lucky, really lucky that the weather, rather bizarrely, apart from the first couple of days that we moved in mid-September, they were the coldest nights we had during that whole sort of 2-month spell from mid-September through to mid-November when the glasshouse was completed. Yeah, that was really bizarre. But, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't cold enough to cause any harm. Now, another thing regarding the actual channel, which I was sort of aware of earlier in the year, but I did only recently remember, is if you come up here, you will see the very first video I did for this channel, and that was 10 years ago, last week, rather bizarrely. I think it was published on the 6th of December. 2014, and that is 10 years ago. So I've been doing this channel for 10 years. I know I had about a year out because I think I filmed videos for about a year and then I had a break from it. But then I came back after a year's break, began again I think in 2016. But yeah, so it's 10 years ago. There's nothing I can really say or offer because my audience is so spread across the world. All I can say really is thanks for your support all through the times we've had here. It has been a sort of very weird period. We've moved twice, so you've potentially seen what we can and can't do during periods of moving. A lot of it is luck, particularly like I've had this year with keeping plants through the autumn. So if you ever need to move and you have got a large collection of tender plants, probably your best plan is to try and move during the summer, but that's what we tried to do this year. But it never works, of course, so we had to live with what we had. Now, as I think I was saying, I'm sorry, I'm just having to have a swig of a warm coffee. It is a cool day today. I think maximum temperature is going to be around about 7. It's really cloudy and windy. Now, thankfully, the glasshouse did have its first real test of strength over the weekend, although it did a few weeks ago as we had another storm. But we had this storm, Dara, I think it was, this last weekend in the UK, and we had 80-mile-an-hour winds here. And as I said, this is quite an open, exposed site that my glasshouse is on here. And it withstood 80-mile-an-hour winds. So it's been built well, it's held up to that, so it's had a really good test of its strength. I'm trying to think what else is slightly different. I have actually got a microphone going now, so I use a microphone because this glass house being so much bigger than the last one, I needed to get a microphone really. I've always been wanting to do that, but certainly here, where the distances between camera and myself are going to be potentially much greater, I certainly need to have a microphone on so that the levels of the sound don't vary too much. Because this is quite a long glass house, 25 feet, but very wide, getting on for 4 meters. I'm going to need to have two heaters going, one at either end, during cold spells of weather. We haven't had any massively hard frosts yet. I'm sort of talking, say, more than -3 or 4. But certainly, if we were to have conditions such as that, I would need to have two heaters going in here. I have as well, for the first time, had lights fitted. I've never had lights in a glass house before. I used to have a big halogen spotlight in my nursery I used to use. It was just on a plug, but I've never had purpose-built lights fitted before. So I've got two 5-foot lights here, LED lights that are quite bright actually. So if I ever need to come down at night, I can sort of see what I'm doing now. But I never usually try to do that, to be quite honest. So I've got scope for continuing to do work all day long. I'm not sure that Mrs. Pelargonium would be happy with that. Now the other thing, as I say, we've got two big major joins here with these big support bars, and these really do help during windy weather. The only minor problem is the height of these. I'm quite tall, I'm 6'3", and the height of this is just almost identical to me. So we have got, that's what these sort of warning signs are. It's just for me to bow my head a little bit. I could just about get away with it. But if I push up and stand up straight, I do touch it with the top of my head. So yeah, that's what these yellow sort of warning stickers are, just to make sure that I do bow my head. Right, well I think just as the sun comes out a little bit actually, what I'm going to do now is show you around the greenhouse, just give you an idea of the placement of some things. Now I do have to say that this is rather provisional, this layout at the moment, because there are a number of big plants. I still need to cut a few back, which I will show at a future date. So let's just take the camera off and have a little wander about. Right, okay then, so I'm going to start up the door in. Insulated doors, got the heater there ready for potentially cold nights. We're having slightly weird weather at the moment, very cloudy, hardly any difference between day and night temperature at the moment. But here is the propagator. It's maintaining a temperature of about 23, 24 degrees in there at the moment. Which is exactly what I want. Now, I think I sort of have mentioned in the main sort of video that I've done, this positioning is not the final placing of the plants. Now, a good number of these regals, which are here, all need cutting back. Again, I've done one or two of them. Here's my working bench. I've got quite a few cuttings to do of plants. A brief overview, that's the back end. Come back right through this way. So up this end I've got the giant Rosebud Supreme and the big standard that used to be behind me in the old glass house. Spotted shrimp, Rushmore spotted shrimp. But that now is sort of living up this end. Again, I'm not 100% certain I'll be keeping it there. Yeah, it is possible there is a bit of a gap there between the bench and the door, but yeah, I'll perhaps rethink things as the time goes on. Again, lots of big sort of regal plants that need cutting back. That's my Harvest Moon regal there, but that really does grow strongly, so I do need to be very careful with that one. So I think I did explain, I've got a couple of upper shelves. Now, one of the issues that I've got, because this is basically 3 greenhouses joined together, they come with these huge, great join bars. So obviously I can't get any upper benches between those bars, but I can get them in between. So I've got two 5-foot ones. I've got one on the side there, a 5-foot bench, and I've got one at the end that's hardly in use yet at the moment. So yeah, I've got benching right up to the back part of the glass house here. I've got two louvres to get a nice sort of door to back end breeze blowing through, which I'll just shut the door to do the video. So I've got about 5-foot gap at the back here, which is all designed to have my standards in. Got a lot of my standards up this end here. There's a big deli, that's the Doris Shore there. And yeah, one or two of my bi-colour standards ones. I think that might be a Carolyn Schmidt that's flowering there in the red. So that's quite nice. I'm just letting that go, really. These are some of the other standards that I've sort of cut back. This is one I've just done today, actually. This is the solid version of the Rushmore spotted shrimp, the solid colour version, the lovely deep purple. That's been cut back. I've got a couple of those. Right, now there, we go in the next video, you're going to see me take cuttings of this plant. This is Peppermint Star, and this is it completely cleaned and tidied up. It's looking very clean, all cut back now, very tidy. Lots of little breaks coming all around the base of it, which is really nice to see. But that's done very well. That's growing on. I'm pleased with the way that that's grown. Now, I mean, as I said, there are an awful lot of plants in here that need cutting back. Over this side, I've generally just next to my workbench here got a number of the younger zonals. Just got plenty of room to breathe now. They were pretty tightly snug together in our porch that we had at the front of the house. So they're sort of a bit happier. They got a little bit more light and a little bit more room to expand. That's the Sophie Dumaresque, the sort of new standard that I took. I did have another one which got completely wrecked, but that's doing quite well actually. That's growing sort of, I'm keeping that very dry, which you do have to do. Keep your bi-colours very dry, bis and tricolours very dry during the winter. That's bone dry, that pot in a clay pot, and is looking as happy as Larry. Got quite a nice shade of colour on it actually for this time of year, because we're very much midwinter now. A few others down the middle here. I mean, this is the one good thing about having an ultra wide glass house. I can get a row of standards or larger plants right down the middle here, which is really good. And I will obviously be able to put a number along the side of the benching. This side here is going to get a lot of light on it. Well, indeed, this side does, because this is effectively southwest facing. These plants will get a little bit less because obviously they're getting a little bit of shelter from the top of the benching there. But this side over here, which is getting a lot of, will get a lot of sun on it when the sun is out. So the positioning of the glass house, again, coming to the fore, this new light glass house, which I've now got, is going to make a great deal of difference to, firstly, how the plants develop, and secondly, particularly with shows, shortening greatly the amount of stopping time I need to give the show plants. So I think that's about it. I mean, it should give me a little bit of an overview of the glass house there. I've made sure that I've got insulation on the individual doors so that I can open them. During very cold weather, in my last glass house, I used to have to put great big sheets of thick material over the outside, but I won't need to do that in this one. So there we go. That's a little look round the glass house as it is now. If I go right up the door end, I'll show you the full view looking down. And there it is, and I'll do a wide angle shot. It is quite big, as I say, it's 25 foot long, 12 and a half foot wide.
So it's pretty big. And as I say, got these bars marked to stop me banging my head on them. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do now, I'll conclude this section, otherwise the videos will end up getting very long. I've got a great number of things to do, which I want to show you. I think what I'm going to do next is some cuttings. Another part of the video, I'll cut back this SAR. It's a lovely gold leaf plant. It's got a few flowers on actually, so I'm going to cut that back. So this has been a good introduction, I think, to the glass house. So we'll move on from there. In the meantime, don't forget, if you stumbled across this and you're not subscribed, think about clicking the subscribe button. No harm at all to you, doesn't cost anything. Absolutely no issue at all. And give the video a like as well, as that helps in the algorithms which put it out there in the world of pelargoniums. So thanks for that. So I'll see you again very soon.